All right. So this is a 1987 Yamaha SRX250 US version. Got my notes here. Andrew said I stutter too much in my video, so I've got some notes here that he rigged me up with. His work at doing this about as good as his patience with me getting my camera gear set up right now.
Damn sweaty.
But so yeah, you want me to lead? What do you say? You want to go?
I'll follow you.
You'll follow me? All right. Let's review here. So we just got the park. Let's go ahead and fire this mean beast up. Try to remember some things to review. A lot of ducks here. I don't know why there's so many ducks, but I can probably guess.
By taking away their food source, they're hoping the ducks will take the hint and move on.
All right. So as I said, this is a 1987. Hold on. Why isn't this thing recording? Oh, f off. Well, there goes that. All right. So as I said, this is a 1986 Yamaha SRX250. I bought this bike for the same reasons that I buy anything else. The story with this one, I was headed to Cincinnati one day to go up and buy a couple of 1958 Johnson Super Seahorse outboard motors, and this was up in the general area, so I took a look at it, and you know, decided I had to have it. Super cool little bike, super cool 1980s Yamaha color scheme with the red and white, purple. Reminds me a lot of the older, larger bikes they had, like the RZ350, for instance. So brought it home, and I've kind of reached a point with it where, you know, I didn't need it to begin with. I don't need it now. I've ridden it around the city. It's a fun commuter bike, but you know, don't need it. Didn't need it to begin with. Don't need it anymore, and I need to make some room to replace it with something else that I don't need. So let's see. It's a fun little bike to ride around town. I've put a couple hundred miles on it. It's a cool little scoot. So I've decided to list it for sale, and I'm going to review it before I get rid of it. Make some good YouTube content and prove it out. So what's next? Okay, insert made up specs. So this motorcycle has an engine that was derived from the Yamaha XT250. But unlike the XT250, this thing's actually geared to a higher final drive speed. So this bike will actually do freeway speeds, unlike an XT of this size. It's a cool little performance-oriented machine. It comes in at 302 pounds dry weight. It's got a single-cylinder 4-stroke engine with a 6-speed manual clutch transmission. And it's got dual overhead cams, and it's got twin inlet tracks and twin exhaust exits, exhaust headers, like some of the those earlier high-performance engines did. It's got the let's see, YDIS carburetor system, the Yamaha dual intake system. I think that's it. May have messed that up. But basically, it's I've seen these on some older high-performance dirt bikes of that era. It's basically a single. It's a carb that shares a single float bowl, single float chamber, but it has two inlet, two intake tracks, two throttle slides, two sets of jets. So it's kind of a single carburetor that acts as two. So, not that it's a twin cylinder engine or anything, and like I said, it's got dual intake tracks. So that gives it more engine, more airflow through the motor. So I'm sure I missed a bunch of stuff, but that I think covers a portion of it. Now, the interesting thing with this bike is that the Japanese domestic versions, or JDM versions of this machine, they came in at 32 horsepower, which for a 250cc engine is really impressive. But did the US get that? Well, like anything else in the automotive market, no, we did not. Japan decided to tune that down. Basically, they tuned it to 17 horsepower. So quite a big bit of difference, which, you know, really stinks, because 32 horsepower on a bike of this weight and this stature would be really, really cool. And as much as I'd love to blame the EPA for all things, from what I've read, the blame of that falls back on, you know, really Americans, and really back to Yamaha of Japan marketing. I think, you know, bumping a bike up this, bumping a bike with a 250cc displacement and air-cooled engine up to 32 horsepower, from my understanding, definitely pushed its limits of reliability. And the Japanese didn't feel that the stupid Americans could withstand, could basically tolerate an engine that was more race oriented and less reliable. We like our Harley Davidsons in the U.S., so we just like machines that aren't fast and are, you know, that are both not fast and also not reliable. So anyways, the good news with that is that, from my understanding, aside from some, you know, maybe jetting changes and carburetor tuning, the main difference between those two engines was the camshafts. And the Japanese versions had in those what they would have been kind of nicknamed the 30X camshafts. Really, the 30X is just the prefix to the part number, but from what I've seen, people call those the 30X camshafts. And they're a much more aggressive camshaft. From what I remember, they've got a little bit more aggressive grind, about 16 degrees further advanced, and I think an extra 2 millimeters of lift. So yeah. But so let's see here. We covered the why things are better not in the U.S. Stupid Americans. Kind of washing out here. Oh, annoy, harass Andrew. Well, I got us lost because I'm too busy talking instead of paying attention to where I'm going. So that actually shouldn't be too hard at this point. So I took a wrong turn. Yeah, I guess we'll just go down Bardstown Road. I don't know, I'll figure something out. We'll figure it out. All right. That's what you want. So let's see. What do I want to talk about now? if my GoPro is still running. It was at 65% battery. So let's see. Well, let's get back into how this bike rides. So this bike is actually it's pretty big hoot to ride. You know, it's pretty light. It feels light. It feels tiny underneath you. Not so much as like, you know, a mini moto or anything, but it definitely feels like a small motorcycle. And at 302 pounds, you know, you definitely know it's a lightweight bike. It's geared high, so, and the engine's tuned for high RPMs, at least as far as I can tell. So you really don't have a lot of bottom end power to it. You know, it's not going to get away from you, and it really likes to be flung out. And we'll do a freeway ride here, a couple poles, so you should be able to see that. But yeah, it likes to be wound out. It likes the higher RPMs, and it's got a very flat, easy to control power curve, torque curve to it. So it's got a factory exhaust on this one, so it's really quiet. I'm not sure how well my mic's picking up on that. It sounds kind of like an old Yamaha motor. For those of you who've had an old Yamaha, you'll know what I mean. You know, it sounds typical of any other Yamaha 250cc roughly bike that I've ridden of this era. Dirt bikes or street bikes, either one. Most of them I've ridden, admittedly, have probably been dirt bikes with this size of engine, 4-cycle in it. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And actually, for a sport bike, you know, it's got still a fairly upright riding position. I'm not too hunched over, so it's actually really comfortable to ride. You know, I've lost a little bit of weight recently, so that might help a little bit. But I'm really pleasantly surprised for just putzing around town here. I'm not uncomfortable on this thing. It's a nice, comfy little ride. The seat's super comfortable. It's a fun little scoot. I think whoever purchases this is really going to enjoy it. Definitely, really, you know, anybody, it's a very good beginner's bike. But honestly, any expert riders could have a lot of fun in this too. I've been riding for years, and it brings a smile to my face getting out on it. So yeah, you should have, but you needed to laminate that. The heck, man. We do quality work here. We're about quality work here in our videography. I know you're over this video before we started. Yeah, it's a hot day. It's a hot day. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Alright, let's get going. We'll go out and find a little wooded honey hole here to maybe do some ride-bys if I can get Andrew to agree to it. Maybe switch out my camera, I'm not really sure. Once we get out of this traffic. You know, I love this. I love stopping at every freaking red light. This is what you want when you ride a motorcycle. Yeah, this is the kind of proper riding that really fit for a bike review. I'm really glad I picked this route. This is nice. Yeah, you definitely don't need to worry about feathering the throttle to this bike. You can pretty much be at WFO throttle position every time you need to accelerate through the gears.
That silly shit.
Huh?
That silly shit.
What? Oh, that? Oh God, I didn't even notice. Let's see what silly shit we got. Red line for this bike is at 9,000 RPMs. It really likes being pushed there. Red line for the more aggressive cam Jap version of it was 10,000, which definitely would have been cooler. The good news is, this makes me actually not want to sell this. The good news is with this, let me not get distracted. Let's see what silly shit we got up here. Oh yeah, speakers in a Jeep. I think that's fitting because I want to hear the crappy music while I'm riding behind them. The good news with this is though, is that I looked and those camshafts are apparently readily available on eBay for like $100 a piece, new old stock, which really makes me regret getting rid of this motorcycle. You know, but I've already posted it. The ship has sailed, you know, and I've got too many projects to do anyway. But I kind of cringed when I saw that. I was like, oh man, that'd have been so much fun to swap those out and would have made really good video content for the couple hundred people, or you know, the couple people that actually watch this channel. They would have really enjoyed that. So take a break down here, a little honey hole. Hopefully this can make it back up. My Trail 125 had a hard time climbing this steep paved hill last video I took down here a while back, so I hope she'll do fine. There we go. Alright, you find a spot in the shade. Got Andrew ahead on a 2006 Husqvarna TE610. One of the best dirt bikes and dual sports money can buy, in my opinion. I have one as well. Someday we need to do a video on that. Well, let's see if the GoPros are still running, huh?
Cue the 10-minute turnaround.
All right. We're gonna go get headed home. Hopefully my camera equipment lasts enough to do top speed run. At this point, I was correct in being suspicious of failing camera gear. But for once, it wasn't my GoPro that failed. My wireless microphone receiver ran out of battery and cut off my main sound for the rest of the ride. As I had forgotten to charge my mic equipment up, Andrew had also neglected to put gasoline in his dirt bike. At least he still had reserve. Unbeknown to me, my license plate was falling off my motorcycle. And after a brief period of time, Andrew was able to bring this to my attention, and we were back on our way. During the time my microphone setup was no longer recording anything I was saying, it likely would have captured something to the effect of talking about this. While the SRX250 sold for a number of years in other markets and was popular in Japan due to its under 250cc displacement not having to meet emissions and noise standards, the detuned version didn't fare as well in the United States. It only sold for 1 year, 1987, and as a result, there aren't a ton of this Yamaha model around here today. The US variant SRX250 has a specified top speed of 85 miles per hour, and according to the red highlight on the speedometer, a recommended cruising speed of around 55 miles per hour. Well, that's all I have to say about that, and if I haven't mentioned it yet in the video, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons.